All right, Jim Jones, how's it going?
Everything pretty good. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, man. Well, you know, I thought we would just kind of just take it back from the beginning and just get to know you a little bit better than, what I'm saying, maybe you haven't talked about before, man. So I mean, I think everybody knows you're from Harlem, man. So what was it like for you growing up in Harlem?
Harlem was cool. Harlem was like a playground. We spent more time outside than we did inside.
Okay. Growing up, man, was it, what was your family life like?
I had a good family. My mom's had me at a young age, so I had a lot of family that took care of me. I was able to have a lot of love between my aunt Viola, who raised me on the east side of Harlem since like the age of 6. And then I spent my later years on the west side of Harlem by the age of 13. In between there, I was going to school back and forth from the Bronx.
Okay. Now, what type of student were you growing up?
I was extremely smart, also extremely bad. We used grades as a way to get new sneakers and stuff like that. So as much as I was bad, I knew I had to get good grades so I could stay fresh back in the days. That's some old school shit. You get good grades, you get new sneakers and clothes and shit like that.
Okay. Now, I've seen you talk about before, man, you had friends who were real big in the crack era, man. Like, what was that like in Harlem during that time? Like, how bad was it?
The crack era? Um, well, for me, the crack era started in the Bronx. As much as I can remember from maybe the age of 5, 6, 82, 81, 83, shit like that. Um, and then every year after that, it seemed to have getting worse and worse and worse and worse till there was no way around it. And traveling back and forth to Harlem, um, it was the same thing, just in a different landscape. I mean, it's a bunch of buildings all through New York, but Bronx, Harlem, Brooklyn, Queens all have all different landscapes. So, but everywhere you went, it was crack all over. Crack, crack, crack.
Damn. How did it affect you growing up, personally?
um, they got this word called trauma that they wasn't saying back in the day. So I guess as a child, my childhood was filled with a lot of trauma, but for us, the traumas was pretty much good times. There was a lot of things going around, but we always found some joy inside of the ghetto, side of the hood. We always figured out something fun to do coming up.
Okay. Now, growing up, did you ever get in trouble? You know what I'm saying? Did you get kicked out of school or anything like that?
Um, I got in all types of trouble. I got kicked out of yeah, I got kicked out of Catholic school. And as a senior, me and Zeke actually got kicked out on the same day, out of Cardinal Hayes.
Can you talk about what happened?
Just being too bad. Me and Zeke was doing everything under the sun in high school, from roughing kids up to credit card schemes to selling all type of fruits, snacks, anything you can imagine. High school was our little racket, and we did so much that they couldn't put their finger on. It was a bit too much for them at the end, and they was like, we can't take it no more. We was good at what we did. Total opposite of what these kids are doing now. Seems like everything they do, they put on the gram for everybody else to see. But I knew that the object of doing anything was to get away with it if it was illegal. Huh.
Yeah, they do be putting everything on the internet nowadays, man. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy.
Hmm.
Did you say you went to Catholic school?
Yeah, for all my life.
I wouldn't have never expected that.
Yeah, I went to private kindergarten, and then from first grade to 12th grade, I was in Catholic school. Went to St. Anne's, that was in Harlem, and then Cardinal Hayes was in the South Bronx.
I mean, going to Catholic school, was it strict? Because, I went to Catholic school up to like the second grade, and like, it was horrible.
I
I hated it.
mean, for most people, probably would say it was strict, but I always figured out ways to bend the rules. Ferris Bueller was my favorite movie, so that was about my era. I thought I was a young Ferris Bueller when I was in school. You couldn't tell me I wasn't. I was pulling off some Ferris Bueller's type shit though. Word.
Okay, now you get kicked out of high school. What do you do with yourself? Do you ever try to get a regular job?
Yeah, I had a regular job before. I got kicked out of high school, 12th grade, um, to get my diploma. I come from a Caribbean family. If you know anything about Caribbean people, they don't play about that. You got to finish school. This is the 90s. Everything's different. School was very important. Went to Julia Richmond, probably one of the worst schools in the city at that time, to finish up my high school. And I was just blessed to have enough credits from Catholic school to be able to still graduate when I got to Richmond, because Lord knows I didn't. I went to class for about 4 days until I seen one of my friends, and I remember them slapping my books out my hand like karate style, and took me to the lunchroom like, man, this is where we at. When I was it.
Were you already rapping at this time?
Nah, I ain't learned how to rap till later, late. Any rapping I was doing was me and Zeke just doing our emulation of what we saw on TV, beatboxing and freestyling, walking through the high school corridors. But as far as me doing any serious rapping or writing anything down, that shit didn't happen until later on. So when I was rapping,
Okay. At what point do you meet Cameron and everybody?
that was early. That was like East Side, young age, preteen, something like that.
Now, going back and forth from Bronx and Harlem, did you go back and forth from school there too, or was it just you just went to school in Harlem?
I went to school in Harlem.
Okay.
I lived across the street from the school I went to, from the elementary school I went to in Harlem. I lived with my aunt Viola during the week, and on the weekends I would go back home to my mom's and my grandmother in the Bronx.
What are things like when you get out of high school for you?
Things are fun. It's high school. Everything's still fun. I'm young. I'm having fun, figuring it out, hustling and having fun.
Okay. Now, is the rapping popping yet? Is what I'm saying, Mace and all that going on yet, or are they still coming up?
Um, I'm not gonna sit here and do a discography, my brother. It's a little bit too much for me. And you ain't pay enough for that. So if you got some other questions you want to ask, or you could erase all this shit and I could send you your money back. Either or.
Okay. I mean,
I understand what's going on and the plight of everything that's going on, and people want to know the history, but this ain't the way that you're not going to be able to get the whole Jim Jones or Jomo story for that, what you did. I thought this was some regular questions. Seemed like you trying to get everything up to every point, and that's not going to happen right now. So if you want to ask some questions, I'm cool with that, but you definitely can't ask me all these questions you're asking, my brother. So if you got some shit you want to ask, you better ask and get it off your chest, but I ain't going through this with you because you don't have enough money for that. No disrespect.
okay. I could do more of a regular interview, but um, I definitely had planned to ask about the Cameron drama. Is that stuff okay, or is that not
Yeah,
okay?
you can ask what you want to ask. You heard? But I'm just telling you that if you think I'm going down the timeline of my life with you, it's not going to happen, my brother. You heard? You're going all the way back to high school. I respect it. And I understand your job as a journalist, but as a journalist, you ain't got enough coin for that. So, what you want to know else?
All right. Well, the biggest thing going on the internet right now, what I'm saying, that you know about is you and Cameron had your differences on the internet, man. What I'm saying? You guys have said a lot of stuff about each other, man.
Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate that all of us had to go down this way and everything plays out on the internet the way it's playing out and shit like that, especially for two people that people know to be brothers and as close as we are. So I could imagine all the confusion and how people are feeling and how people are feeling separated and people feeling like they got to choose a side. I don't want nobody to ever choose a side of what's going on. It's just sad that is people having to see this in real time and things like that. But at the same time, I can't let it knock me off for what I'm doing. Besides anything was going on, I was already full speed into what I had going on, and now this just put a whole different light on everything I had going on. And for me to take a negative spin about it, it would be not advantageous to me. So I chose to use it towards everything that I know how to do, and as a form of marketing and promo for myself. And it seems to be doing pretty good. Instead of engaging in petty warfare that probably won't make me a dime.
Okay, now, is there any of that stuff that you can address? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I know it's kind of crazy for him to accuse you of not being from Harlem. You know,
Um, yeah, it's a good joke, man, but we all know what's going on, man. You dig? I'm definitely raised in the Bronx, but I mean, made in the Bronx, and Harlem raised me. Funny thing about it, I was born in a hospital called Flower Fifth Avenue, which is not in Harlem anymore, or right beneath Harlem. That's where I was actually born. And you can look it up. I got a birth certificate. So do your research. You're a journalist. The hospital is called Flower Fifth Avenue. You heard? And my family been in the entire projects in Harlem since the 70s, since they came from Aruba and Curacao and St. Martin and Montserrat. That's where we from. We from the Caribbean islands. And when we landed in Harlem, and we landed in the Bronx. And if you know anything about New York, that's regular.
okay. Now, some of the other things that he touched about and he talked about was this whole Mano situation. I guess, Mano had a song called Rumors back in the day where, he took some shots at Cameron. What was going on with that whole situation?
I don't know. That was a long time ago. Mano made a record at that time in rap. Being combative was a thing to do. I was making the most money, as you could see from the whole era that was going on and how aggressive I was back in those days. And Mano made a record, I mentioned Cam name, in a way that wasn't very favorable to me and like that, and automatically I had a gripe with him. So it was just waiting to collide at that point. And we never did collide until we was in Atlanta. Only time me and Mano ever had any words or back and forth or anything was when we got to meet face to face in Atlanta.
What was your reaction when Cameron brought up all these old stories and everything about you?
I
Alleged
laughed,
old
man.
stories.
I got this thing, man. People laugh at the lies, but the truth always hurt. Lies are more entertaining. You heard? You get to laugh, you get the joke, but the truth is a serious thing, no matter how you look at it. The truth is what the truth is.
Yeah, the internet gets kind of crazy with the lies. The
You
lies be
can't.
going crazy on the
I
internet,
mean,
man.
well,
They say,
the lies start from a narrative, and a narrative starts from a person, and you just got to look at it like that. But I've never been one in my life to care about clearing up no rumors like that. Just take time out my day for making money. I know who I am. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I stand 10 toes down on everything I believe in. I don't change my pivot, and everybody knows that. I mean, as you can see, I would not be here if I did anything else but be me.
they say that all this happened because he asked 50 Cent a question about you performing in the middle of Cameron and 50's feud.
I mean, who knows, man? All this could happen for numerous amounts of reasons. But yeah, that was crazy what him and 50 had did on TV. Thinking back about it, but it is what it is. We dealing in a world where everything is about media, and the internet is a big place where people make a lot of money on. I understand what people are doing when they have these platforms, and to stay on these platforms, you got to do everything possible to make a dollar and make, you know what I mean? So I'm not on no platforms. I'm not a podcaster. I'm not a gossiper. I don't talk about people every day to make a dollar and shit like that. I get up every day and get to the things that I need to do to feed my family, to make sure the company is running, to make sure my employees get paid. Like, I just don't rap. I just don't sit here and engage in this petty that's going on the internet. Although it's a great avenue for marketing, and it has helped me out tremendously in the past 2 weeks with everything that has been occurring, shit like that. So, and this is something that you can't pay for. I don't think a company could put any dollar amount on the type of viral that we was able to pull off with everything that's going on. And it's just crazy to see how negative energy could turn to a positive because so many people are worried about negative. You know what I mean? You know how this go. You've been to science class. You know about neutrons and shit like that, right? You look
Yep.
like you do.
I didn't do too good in school. I mean, I did okay. But what were the phone calls like after this went viral? Like, I know a lot of people
As far
don't
as
really
what?
want to see you guys beef.
As far as what?
Like, were people trying to call you to get you guys to squash it or to talk to you or have a
I
conversation
mean,
with
yeah,
you?
I've had numerous amounts of calls to the point that I kind of stopped picking up my phone because most people are calling with references to everything that's going on, whether it may be y'all should stop engaging, y'all brothers, y'all got to figure it out. Dipset is the most powerful thing ever. My childhood, I can't believe this going on. Like y'all wrote the blueprint to us coming up. Like I've been getting so many calls and shit like that, and I mean, for me, it's like it seems like people don't look at the playing field, and it seems like whenever I react to anything, it's taken more seriously than anything else, and it turns into what we have now. And I haven't even said nothing. Like I told, the last thing I crashed was a boat in Bahamas. You can ask my man Ellie. You heard, for real.
Now, one of the things that he brought up that I wanted to ask you about was the whole BMF situation. I think you touched on it before in previous interviews.
Yeah, I
But
talked about this. We talked about this plenty of times. Shouts to BMF. Shouts to Misha. See that he's home. I know I haven't spoke to him, but I do have a relationship with him. I've talked to him a bunch of times while he was incarcerated. Through numerous mutual people, you know how this shit go. But I'm glad to see you back. I'm glad to see he made it back. Made it back to his family. Now he can switch it over and make a new empire out of all the things that he's done in his past and shit like that. It seems to be doing pretty good. As they have the BMF show, which everybody loves. The story's a dope story. Me myself, I've seen the story in real time. I mean, in real time, like on planes, trains, and automobiles with these guys. Like I formed a friendship with them through the time of us all balling at one of the most golden eras in hip hop and things like that. I'm talking about all type of times. You know what I mean? From Miami to Atlanta, like these are my guys. Like you dig. And shouts to Baby Blue. R.P. Baby Blue. He's not talked about enough when they say BMF, and I do hope when they continue to do the story that they have a whole season with Baby Blue, because he definitely was the golden child of the whole BMF. Like he could do no wrong. He went to college, graduated from college, called me when he got his first Porsche truck, said he had his initials in the floor mats and shit like that. Like, so I've seen some shit in their history, like of what people was talking about. Like I remember Baby Blue picking me up, and I told people the story before. I go to LA, I end up being in a hotel that was more suited for the LGBT community. If those are the proper initials, I don't never want to put nobody out there, but they said it was more suited for that. I remember Baby Blue calling. You know how we talk. Yo, you gotta get out of there. I'm like, he was laughing. He pulled up in this Porsche. I don't know if that was the Porsche you was talking about, but when the Porsche Cayennes was hot, it had all the turbos and shit like that. We had one too. Shout out to Slicey. And he was like, yo, I'm gonna put you in one of the cribs, and until tomorrow you go check into another hotel. So he drove me to a mansion, a retarded mansion. He was like, yo, here the keys. This is the old mansion. We got the new mansion up the block. If you need us for anything, just hit us. You're here by yourself. You can do whatever. So yeah, that's the type of magnitude of how they was playing. They had empty mansions and shit like that in LA. You heard? So, but yeah, shouts to BMF. I mean, shouts to those guys. Shouts to Blue though. Me and Blue definitely all type of shit me and Blue been through. We did bunch of fun nights in Miami, Atlanta, all over the country and shit like that. Shouts to Blue, man. I can't say nothing bad about him and shit like that. I mean, but everybody over there, man. We've been around, man. I tell you that era was something to be there to see. It wasn't on Instagram. I wish we had some Instagram moments to go back and watch, because boy, balling on the highest level. I haven't seen too many people do it like that. And out in the public, outside with it, like really touching the people. Like, there's a lot of stars out here that's doing it, but it was a different type of movement. You know what I mean? Like, it's just different. when that Dirty Money looking so good, you know what I mean? They had this shit on tilt when they was in the streets. Or shouts to Daddy O, man. That whole situation, I can't say this when Meech was when Blue was talking about a few people. I'm just gonna mention Daddy O name because that's the name I know I can make some people know from him being me. And I gave him that name, but any other names I ain't got no time to mention. But Daddy O was there, man. He like, yo, young fella, pull up. We gonna put this thing together, young fella. You know my guys. Anybody know Daddy O, they know how he talk and shit like that. So Daddy O was the one that mended all that whole shit, and that's how I got to meet Meech and forge a relationship with him from that meeting in the hotel that Blue was talking about on his interview.
How'd that conversation with Meech go?
Fun. Start laughing like, you remind me of me when I was younger. Just go crazy. I'm with that type of shit. Like, it was a bunch of bosses. Like, I'm in a meeting with a real bunch of bosses. Like, you dig, like, that really push buttons around the whole country at that time and shit like that. Like, that shit wasn't worried about nothing. I didn't have an entanglement with Meech himself. You know what I mean? It was people that was a part of BMF, maybe, I don't know, you know what I mean?
These go to popping the bottles. They go upstairs and they get their bottles and they start popping the bottle and doing all this dumbass shit that we never did. This shit is shaking the bottle, letting it squirt. So the shit is coming down and Jim Jones them is walking in the club and the champagne is coming down. And they looking up like, what the, and the champagne just wet them all up and shit. And however that happened, I wasn't there for that. But they supposed to have ran up the stairs. Jim Jones then went upstairs and got it popping. They cut one of the homies from Macon, $150 to pop, like on the arm or something. They had a big ass fight with Jim Jones and them that night, right? And then so they come to the house all mad, leaking and shit, blood and shit. Like, man, we just got into it with Jim Jones, them niggas and blue, blue, blue. And Meech like this. Here go Meech. He was like, shit, man, I told you we wasn't going out. I told niggas. That's exactly why I said we ain't going no motherfucker way. We gonna have to fuck some up, cause you wanna go out. Them that did it the right way though, cause they had made the right phone calls. They talked to the right. They had people that knew people, or they themselves actually probably knew a little bit. Knew people from our side, so was able to speak with his Muslim Mafia brothers that was speaking on behalf of Dipset, now Cameron actually at that point in time, because Jim Jones came to the meeting the next day. Cam just didn't come. But Capo came. But Cam didn't come to the actual meeting that we had, sat down and ate the fish and shit at the hotel like gangsters. You know what I'm saying? Bunch of niggas, big old table, Meech, all these niggas, these bosses, the Muslim Mafia bosses, Meech them. I was in that. Some of the real reputable homies was around the table and shit. We ate, broke bread, and they squashed that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, and then me and Capo have been cool ever since. You know what I'm saying? We still cool as far as I'm concerned to this day. You know, I was running around with that heavy when I first moved to Miami, matter of fact.
And I remember being booked in Atlanta. Tell you how life is funny. Just after that, being booked in Atlanta, me and my man Stanks go down there. And then I know things were still in the air, even though we squashed. So I got 2 armed security with me. Go to the club, me in the club. And I told the story a bunch of times too. And I had BMF in the building. It felt like the music stopped. They literally had like 200 with them. I was like, ooh, I was looking at my man Stags like, we cooked. They set us up. They booked us. But Meech had booked me just come hang out and party. When his security came over, was like, yo, Meech wanna holler at you. You gotta tell your security to go home because they ain't gonna last in here. Dead face. I was like, oh, shit. Remember Cash was out telling him, yo, bro, you might as well go home. This shit ain't gonna work for y'all. I went over there. Meech was like, oh, Meech just went crazy. Buster was there. It was a few people was there. That was a dope night. But yeah, shit like that in that type of era, that type of money playing with. Like, I'm gonna just book Jim. You heard? Tell him pull up. We gonna have shit like that. So yeah. Yeah, hell of an era.
One of the situations he also talked about, man, was the Rutgers Park situation.
Well, everybody know that situation. That's old school, man. You dig? I ain't talking about nobody. You know what happened that day, man. You dig? I put it in that day. That's all, man. Shouts to Gutter, man. Me and C Gutter was going back and forth for a minute. Remember he had got the ups on me in Hawaii. Snuffed me dumb hard in my back of my head. You know, these is diesel at the time. I wasn't even working out. I might have been a $165 wet, but I was strong. remember that whole day. I like, yo, I don't feel right. I remember I took a steak knife and a fork outside with me in Hawaii because we was doing the No Way Out tour, I believe that what it is, and shit like that. And we definitely engaged. And I backed the knife out, started chasing him and what the he come to me and shit like that, but yeah. And then when we got the Rucker, I got to get mine back. Word up. Remember he tried to something happened with my man Tiger, try to swing on my man Tiger. When he tried to swing on my man Tiger, I hit that nigga with the blow of God. I hit that nigga with every bit of might I could in my body for that get back. I just want to get back. I did, and this shit was so crazy because we in Record Park and it's my man Tiger right here and Gutter right here. We not saying nothing. I'm not even putting my little man. I'm just looking at him. Like the first opportunity I get in here, we going at it. I don't give about nothing. That's already on my mind. He just tried to get with me in Hawaii. I got to get back. Word. I got mine. And then after that, it was like 15, 16 bad boys rushing me. I remember I'm just swinging on everything. I had one little box cutter saved my life. But yeah, it was the fun times, man. That's what I was into. We from Harlem. I'm a project baby. That's even deeper than Harlem, bro. Like I know that don't even leave the project, never left the project. You heard? Might have went to 2/5 at the most. At the most. You heard? That's all we know about is violence. They don't teach you nothing else but to be tough. If you ain't tough coming out in that project, you're not gonna last. They're gonna walk over you, they're gonna feed on you, and they're gonna talk about you. You're gonna be that herb back in the day. This is a herb. You heard? I don't know if you remember that word, but if you was a herb, yeah, you ain't wanna be that. You heard? We from Harlem. Yeah, the scraps was always in me. I always was good with my hands. I was small. I was like 5'3" until like 11th grade. I was always short. I had to know how to get busy. I had no other option, and then my mom's wasn't jacking nothing. I was the only boy. My sisters were 6 years younger than me. She used to come outside when I was 5, 6 years of age when I was on the Play Street on Weeks Avenue. And fight, she stand there until I fight back. Like, we ain't going upstairs till you fight back. You bugging out. You heard? And she tell me, well, you can't beat him, go over in the corner, get something, come back and hit him in the head with something. Not to promote that, but I'm from the Bronx. You heard? Like, this was coming up in the Bronx. These are lessons you learn on the street. You dig? By the time I was in Harlem full time, I was already a beast. I was already a full-grown beast at such a young age. I ain't had no outside of the Bronx. I did everything in the Bronx. We was outside at age of 6, literally, on the back of buses, going up and down the Grand Concourse, going down to Harlem to go see my moms and by myself. We was different. I've been taking the train since I was the age of 9 by myself. The different type of New York I grew up in. I grew up in that graffiti era, that b-boy era, pinstripe Lee jeans and shit like that, permanent creases. You heard BVD shirts, you heard? Big iron-on letters on your t-shirt. Don't play with me. I'm not from a regular era. Sheepskins with the mittens. You heard? With the hat to match. Tell them, Pone, stop playing with me. V-bomber shit, the long ones, the elephant skin shit, you heard? Stop playing. Then they had the box joint that came out, you heard? Wasn't the V-bomb, but it was the bomber, leather bomber with the hood, with the fur on it. Don't play with me. I'm from a wicked era. British Knights and all that stuff with the tassels on them. Playboys, you heard? What's up? Bally, yo, what's up? Stop playing with me. I'm from a different type of era. You heard?
When all this happened with Bad Boy, did you guys have a relationship with Diddy or anything? Did you have to be cool with Diddy, or how did all that go?
I just got off tour with Diddy. Remember, this is after the No Way Out tour. Like, this is stemming from all of that and shit like that. Like, this goes on from that and shit like that. Like, so. But shouts to Diddy, man. You dig? Like, I've known Diddy for so long, since back then and shit like that. You dig? Like, he been bossing. Or
what do you think about everything going on with Diddy right now?
God bless him. I pray everything works out in everybody's favor.
Now, I seen Zoe talk about this. Ali Zoe.
Shouts to Zoe, one of the originators, one of the illest niggas I've seen in Miami, and I know there's a lot of ill Miami that I know. You heard? I don't even want to say their name, but I know Zoe been through what he been through like that, so I can't say his name when it come to Miami. I ain't glamorizing nothing, but I'm just saying in Miami at that time when we was outside, he was for sure one of the illest that I've seen in Miami moving. Shouts to the Zoe Pound too. Shouts to all my Haitians. Shouts to Lil Haiti. Shouts to all my Cubans too. All lot. Like, I'm really a part of the Miami landscape. Like, you dig? Like, word.
When I interviewed him, he talked about he called you, I guess, when you was going off on Mace. I'm thinking this was the time on the radio, when Mace was on the radio and you guys called in.
Yeah, I did a song. Me and Jim Jones was coming out. I mean, Mace was coming out once, and Puff had him, and Jim Jones was barking on him. Ah, man, what's up, man? Nah, Mace, you can't come out. It's One-Eye Willie. You know what the happened. So you know, Puff calls me. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey man, I need you. I be like, what's up? What's going on? Man, Jim Jones, man. I'm like, yeah, what's up? So then, you know, it was kind of difficult to sell Jim Jones because he really don't with that Puff commercial shit. But the nigga sold him. Man, I promised him, man, you know what I'm saying? Them 10 steps in 106 and Park was difficult to get. So I'm like, man, we're going to get you a spot, man. Don't trip. We're going to get you a spot. So, you know, Jones say, I'm gonna do the sit down, man. That's cool. So we sat down with Puff. We chilled. We talked. Them boys had a little understanding with Ruckus Park, Junior Mafia and him, and it wasn't what it was. So he like, you know, Puff like, man, I didn't with them dudes like that. Them dudes wasn't my dudes. So Puff like, man, let's do a song now. So we did a song now in his studio, right there in the garage at Star Island, 2 Star Island. Puff like, we doing the video tomorrow in your hood, Chip.
I didn't really get to meet Zoe till after that, but there was other shit that was going on at the time I met Zoe with the whole Beffa shit and all that. So it wasn't from the first shit that was going on that we called in the radio station. That's stemmed from other shit that was going on during the Miami times. This is when I'm Jim Jones now. I'm a full artist and shit like that. That's a whole different era and shit like that.
You know, what was going on at that time when you guys did call in and kind of confronted Mace about everything?
I don't know. I was young. We wanted to make sure the Diplomats was staying on top. We wasn't with no lies and nobody trying to make us look less than. So that's all that was.
How did you guys end up with Rockefeller?
Dame started managing Cam. And then it went from Dame managing Cam to it turning into Dame actually pulling him in over there. And then everything started happening for Cam. You know how the universe works. He ended up getting the movie deal, Rockefeller deal. Everything started happening simultaneously for him. And it really went in his favor.
What was kind of like, you know, your feelings towards everything at the time?
It was hype. Niggas was getting on. Cam was getting on. He's finally getting his just due from the bad situation that we just went through with the whole entertainment record label. No shots to Un. He gave us our first opportunity, but him as a businessman didn't do the things he needed to do to keep his record label afloat. He ended up relinquishing a lot of money over not contracts. You got a contractual obligation. You need to fulfill it. And he was lackluster when it came to actually putting the music out. I can't say that for any artist. And that was in the days where the norm artists would put out a record every year and a half, or every 2 years. You know what I mean? And the only record that he ever put out while he had the label was Cam's album, and the label was up and running for a couple years and he ain't produced nothing else. And Sony ended up pulling the rug from under him and shit like that. And that left us without a deal, just like that. Yo, it's over. Shop is closed. You heard? And then he had to fight his way back. Went through a time. This is how the Diplomats was really created, like how Diamonds are created, because we were both under pressure at that time. There was no more luxury of having the labels behind us and having all being catered to like you are when you are a star artist and shit like that. And the pressure was to get back in the game and show exactly how dope Cam was at the time. There was no Diplomats. But the part of that was forming an elite crew of people that couldn't be denied. And we made Diamonds out of that. And the Diplomats was formed while Cam made his resurgence to the rap game after he had lost the deal from Hay. after they lost their label and shit like that.
Right, yeah, because there was kind of like that period where, I'm over here on the West Coast, maybe there was mixtapes, but I didn't really hear too much.
Yeah, that's because he lost his deal and he had to do business with Sony and got out of that obligation, and then it was just like fighting his way back, and that's when Dame stepped in.
How did you guys get out of the Sony deal?
I think Cam told that story a bunch of times. This is something he wanted to do, so he took an aggressive tactic to get out of the deal. I'll leave that story for him to tell. I just was in the background following his orders at the time.
One of the things that, just from the outside, hearing all the stories and hearing everything, did you guys feel welcome at Rockefeller? Like, did you guys feel like, oh, everybody's happy to have us?
Well, we went over there with a different mindset. We went over there, it was an opportunity for us to go crazy. We didn't care about nobody else up there, and that was probably one of the things I think that we could have approached better as coming in there, but I understood the mindset we needed to have because we were our own thing at the time and we wanted to be just as powerful as Rockefeller was and shit like that, you know what I mean? But there was never no tension in there like that until the whole shit with Cam becoming the president. Everything up there was pretty cool. Every night gambling, doing music, everybody's in there, State Property, Jay, Bleak, like, it was definitely a dope situation. Like I told people, we was on to the point where we was all supposed to go on tour, Diplomat, State Property, like we was supposed to be on that whole shit. And how quickly that shit dismantled because of, and I don't know the ins and outs of the whole Rockefeller split up and shit like that. I'm just telling you because a lot of friction when we was around over that Cam being president.
What about that line that Jewel says? I've always I'm seeing the video and he's like, 2 more for Cam for taking over the Rock, and I was like, I'm watching and I'm like, damn, that's it seems like a strong statement.
At that point, we were the only artist besides Jay that was going platinum on Rockefeller. The only other artist that did that was Kanye when he started dropping. Remember that, like we're the only artist that went platinum up there, so we were feeling ourselves. Cam just came off a platinum success. Jewel's album went platinum. Diplomat's album, double CD, platinum. Like, you dig? So, and we from Harlem. We talk that shit. We fly. You heard?
I've seen this talked about as, kind of like maybe when the split happened, when they made Cam vice president. Did you guys feel like you had to choose sides between Dame and Jay at the time?
Nah, I didn't have a side to choose. I chose whatever side Cam chose.
Okay. The split happens. After that, right after that is when you go to Koch?
Yeah, somewhere around there, something like that. Or maybe a little bit before that. Like I tell people, I tried to get $1 million from Dame. Dame laughed at me. He chose to do the Koch deal. I knew that I would make more than $1 million. And being independent was a thing that I've seen from being in Houston the previous 2 years and watching all these Houston artists making so much money selling shit out their trunk and in the mom and pop stores. Had the same attitude, like it wouldn't matter where these kids get the records from, long as it's on, long as they see the Diplomat bird on it. They wouldn't give a fuck if it's Def Jam, Atlantic, mom and pop. They just want to see what the bird is about.
How many people turned you down at that time?
As far as what?
As far as giving you a deal?
Nobody.
Nobody, okay.
Cam was turning down deals for the Diplomats at that time that I had no idea about, but yeah, there was a lot of deals being offered to them for Diplomats.
Was there a reason why you guys chose not to sign a deal like that?
As far as what, for myself or for Diplomats?
For both, or the group.
My deal was separate.
Yourself?
I wasn't signed to Diplomats at all. I'm not a Diplomat artist. Jewels is a Diplomat artist. He was signed to Cam. Cam was the owner of Diplomat Records.
Okay. You eventually go to Koch.
Yeah, you go to Koch under the same premise of Diplomats, with Diplomat Bird, Diplomat Records, but I'm my own entity.
Now, I thought I seen this a while ago, man. Did Cameron ever sue you about using the Diplomats logo?
He couldn't sue me about using the Diplomat logo. I mean, he had took the trademark for the Bird Gang logo. I mean, at that time, me moving fast was all about making money. Smart as I was, there's a few things that I skipped over without, crossing my T's and dotting my I's. And trademarking logos and names was something I wasn't really thinking about, especially for somebody else that I know would do it instead of putting me onto it. But I have to leave it here nor there.
Okay. Well, Ballin' drops, or We Fly High drops. I think mostly everybody calls it Ballin', but and this thing goes crazy.
Ballin' was dope.
You
Ballin'
know,
is my Michael Jackson hit.
what was the process of putting the song together?
A Ballin'?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that shit. I forgot what studio it was at. I think it was a Sony studio or some shit. Had this record. Remember, the Franchise Boys was on the record, but my label needed a single. They had my back against the wall. They wanted to use this Cali single called Reppin' Time. I didn't want to use it at the time. Still stuck in my New York ways. So I ended up taking them off in the studio, looking at the Puffy and Nelly shit. They forgot what the shit where they singing, the girl was singing the hook and the guy was singing the hook. I'm like, I gotta do a record, something like that. End up catching the hook, end up telling my man, call his baby moms down to do the second half of the hook. That's how it was done.
I seen somewhere that Tupac was an ad-lib on the song, or
No, Tupac, I got Tupac is the one who inspired me to do ad-libs the way I do. If you listen to any of Tupac music, his ad-libs are super duper dope.
how much money do you think that the label made off this one single?
Woo! If I burnt through 20 M's, then you could imagine what the label made.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, we got to spend hammer numbers.
And this is independent.
I mean, yeah, between touring shows and everything, that shit was coming fast in all different directions. In a few years, not being responsible, that shit gone. Between a couple investments and all that type of shit also, but yeah, no regrets though. Still pissed off about a couple of them, but no regrets.
Did you like working with Koch?
I like working with anybody who's going to be fair and pay and pay right. I never received $1 from Koch besides advance money, and I ended up finding out that I was in a crazy deal with me being so young and moving so fast that it didn't sink into me at the time that I need to pay more attention to the actual business that I'm doing instead of worrying about being the artist that I wanted to become. But I need to become that artist so I could get the business. And right now I'm trying to figure out the matrix of how I could get all my masters back and all that. But
See, okay, so even though you were signed as an independent artist, you still didn't get your masters. That's crazy.
yeah, because I wasn't signed as an independent artist. That was the whole thing. We thought we were signing as indie. It's just that Koch was an independent record label, meaning they were a real record label. You heard, and they was giving out people real record deals, but they had the power to distribute real records like a real label, but they wasn't as big as a Def Jam or as big as Atlantic. So they were naming those independent labels because they were pushing out records pretty much on their own merit. We took it as we were independent, and we wasn't. But we was getting so much money, it didn't matter. You heard? It looked good. But when you look back at it in real time, shit was all fool's gold.
Damn. Wow. Damn.
Not the damn. It's a dirty
Cold,
dirty
man.
game, right? And that ain't no nobody but me. You know, this is an era. I'm from an era where they say the game is to be sold, not told. So they appease you with money before they tell you what you need to know to make some money. And I got caught up in that matrix. As smart as I am, I wasn't that smart, but you can't go in the surgery room and think you're gonna perform a surgery if you've never even been to medical school. You know what I mean? So besides us being artists and talented, us being smart had nothing to do with not knowing the business that we knew nothing about. And at that point, people take full advantage of you because that was where the game was at that time. And they still do it now and shit like that. But artists have figured out the loop to really be independent. So it's a little bit harder for a lot of these labels to take as much advantage as they once did and back in the day. You know what I mean? So for me to still be here to fix all of my things and still be relevant and still put out music and still be able to make money off my music is a beautiful thing, because there's tons and tons of artists that didn't make it this far to be able to figure out the situation from being in the Stone Age and putting music out. You heard? Like, now you can go back retroactive and collect so much money from things that were done to you back in the days. You know what I mean? Because of the way everything is so digital and the way that it's kind of dope, but so many people won't get ain't here for that. You know what I mean? And God bless them. But I'm here and I'm gonna get mine. So I'm coming back for everything that's old. Retroactive.
Nobody gave you a heads up. You had all these friends in the industry and everything, and nobody was like, "Let me look over your contract."
I'm not one to talk about my business. You sign a contract, it's not, you ain't gonna be running around talking. I'm not thinking about it. I'm just thinking about the money I was making at that time. I'm getting money. I'm getting advances. I'm getting money. I signed a dope contract. I thought it was a dope contract. Yeah, I wish people that was in my corner would let me know exactly what we was doing, but that's a whole nother story. I ain't want to talk about that shit. I made it through the storm. You heard? And at that time when I signed that contract, I was content with signing that contract because I knew what I needed to do to keep going forward.
You know what? One of the things that I seen when doing some research, man, is that you had the opportunity to sign J. Cole and Drake.
Yeah. Well, Drake went through Adam at Koch. Called me one day, sent me a picture of Drake, let me hear his music. The music was phenomenal, but the picture was crazy. I'm like, what are we gonna do with it? This is the time I'm heavy gangbanging, and we got the city going crazy, but the records was crazy. So that was that. He said, all right, I guess you're right. The next year, I think I heard him on the Wayne mixtape, and I almost fell out. He went so crazy on Little Wayne mixtape. I'm like, oh my God. And then J. Cole, he sat in my studio while I made every night damn near, while I made the whole Pray for Rain album. He sat there and he rapped every night too. And I'm like, damn, bro, like, you rapping, but you sound like Drake, and you man light skin. This is how I'm thinking, bro. So twisted and caught up in everything that I'm doing, and not being a businessman and being a real A&R and shit like that. Just only worried about things that I like and things that I think I can push, and I'm not seeing a bigger picture. Like, and I'm telling these they nice as shit. I'm like, duh. I'm looking back like, you telling them they nice. Like, what was wrong with you? But I was so caught up in what I was doing, it didn't fit the picture of how I was moving. We was mobbing, you know what I mean? So, but maybe it happened for a reason. Look how big these became. You heard? Maybe I couldn't bring them to where they was gonna go. You should, God don't lie and time don't lie. You dig? So I tip my hat to them. You dig? I got to have that. I got those moments in my life where I can talk about. And there's a lot of other ones, but those are precious moments for me. Like, people, and those are truthful moments. They got to remember forever too. Whenever I bring it up, whether it means something to them, like it means to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, damn, those are huge talents, man. Is there anybody else that you could have signed that you didn't, or you passed up on?
There's plenty of people, but I'm tired. I don't feel like talking about all that. The Weeknd, I could have signed The Weeknd.
No shit.
100%.
Damn.
I could have signed The Weeknd in Canada. Shouts to Cash and the whole EXO family, Sal and all of them. The day that Stax had died, I had to go to Canada. It was one of the saddest days in my life. And Cash gave me a CD with a kid named The Weeknd on it. I never listened to it out. I won't say I threw it out, but I just never listened to it. And at that time, Cash was like a promoter out there doing his thing into the music industry. You remember this pre-internet and all that and shit like that. And we laugh about that all the time right now, but he do know that day was a crazy day for me. You know what I mean? And once again, maybe that was too early for Weeknd. Remember, what year Stax died? 04, 05? I like, what year Stax died? Nah, it was Ballin'. It was Ballin'. It was like 07 or 08.
2007.
Shouts to Stax, man. Incredible talent, man. incredible talent. But yeah, so that was '07. And I kept back to back. It was like Stacks passes and my best friend Holly passed. It just was so much that summer, just from the life we was living. It's just crazy, man. But yeah, and my mind was somewhere else, and how the record labels push you when you're in the midst of being hot. Like, they don't have no feelings towards anything you got going on in your life. So, of course, they pushing you to go to Canada. Gotta stay, you know what I mean? And my mind wasn't there. And I missed that opportunity to sign The Weeknd, but people would have probably never knew him as The Weeknd. And what year did we start hearing about The Weeknd? If that was '07, when did you start hearing about The Weeknd? 10 years later, maybe? 2017, 2018, something like that?
Something like that.
So look at that. Look at that. That might have been too early for him to reach the stardom, and just he's one of the biggest artists we ever seen in artist history. He's like Drake, he's like Michael Jackson. He's like, these artists are in the top of their realm. You heard? But I got great stories of me being infused somewhere in their history, and that's dope.
I think your first record on Koch was with Game. Certified Gangsters. Is that?
Yeah.
Was that the first song?
Yep. First song was that was the remix.
The remix. Right. Yep. How did you and Game link up?
They were saying Game was Eazy-E's son. And then he was Blood. He had on what was it, YouTube, MySpace, whatever niggas was watching back there. He had the Eazy-E tattoo on him and shit like that. So that's what we thought that what it was. We got in touch with him and shit like that. And then we got him to the East Coast. And from there we forged a relationship. You dig? Shouts to Fort Bent, RP Fort Bent. That was Game's best friend. Passed away very early in Game's career. Dope soul, or super dope soul. Heavy on the gangbang though. Super heavy on the gangbang. Young 6'4", 6'5", heavy. You heard? Pushing through everything. He's a part of LA history. They know about Bent. Young Fo Bent. You heard? Word, man.
Billboard, yeah, for sure.
Billboard, yeah, that's what they call him, Billboard Bent. But that's my man Fo Bent. Word. And that was like, Fo Bent was really excited for who I was and shit like that. You know what I mean? And that really bring us together even more the way, I mean, God bless his soul. I went to his funeral too in LA. That's how much I was in LA at the time. Shout out to the Booyah Tribe. They opened up a lot of doors for me in LA. Shouts to Posey, RP Posey passed away. Crip gentleman took me to all the blood hoods in LA that I needed to know about. He knew all the right people. Only hood he didn't go in was the Jungles, but he parked right outside and waited for me. Shouts to Wacko. Wacko, don't get it confused. Wacko, you heard? Bompton. Big Dog. What's up, bro? How you feeling? Dig? Like, I definitely put it down in California, LA. I had birthday parties in Enterprise Park, you know. If you from LA, you know what I mean by Enterprise Park. And yeah, I had birthday parties in Enterprise Park. You know what I mean? So this is the type of shit that I was doing when they were portraying that East Coast were fake Bloods and they were just putting on the act, and I knew we wasn't. And for me being an avid fan of West Coast culture, man, the gangbanging hit my coast with storm, and being a fan of Snoop and how he handled it, and actually I wanted to build a bridge, and I knew that wasn't gonna be the easiest thing to do, but I had the heart to do it.
Okay, so you did a lot of hanging out over here and linking up with a lot of dudes over here from the streets, just to kind of you know what I'm saying, build that and get everything. I mean, you know, LA being like the original, you know what I'm saying, Bloods and Crips and everything, you know, you know, they got a lot of love for, you know, people that's not from LA, but you know, I can remember that, you know, there was that point where it was like nobody really knew each other.
Yeah, it was a point where LA is a home of what we know gangbanging to be. And when it hit New York and East Coast like wildfire, and we started to paint that picture, LA naturally was like, you don't understand something, you shun something, and I could dig it. But by the time I got to doing it and got to banging, we was gonna figure this out because I was in music and I knew I had to be on that side. So I'm gonna get to this early. They gotta feel my gangster. That was my attitude. And I met some dope out there too. I mean, or still
What
to this
was
day.
that like? You know, seeing that the gangbang culture and the Bloods and Crips and everything come to New York.
What you mean? What was it like?
What was the change? You know, did things change at all? Did the streets change?
The streets of New York definitely changed. Bloods hit this shit like wildfire. Very poignant time in New York City history. And it was kind of opposite, polar opposite from LA. Predominantly, it was at a time where LA is predominantly Crip and Bloods were outnumbered, and New York City was all Blood with a tiny percent of Crip, maybe less than one hand. It's not so right now. It's definitely, my lokes is out here, you heard? They definitely out here. I mean, shouts to everybody that's affiliated with something. I mean, as long as you try to keep it positive, get to $1, take care of your brothers, less ops, you heard? More thoughts, you dig? More having good times, you heard? We need a little bit more positive energy inside of my city, you know what I mean?
I've always wondered about, you know, after, you know, you drop Ballin', you know, Jay-Z comes out with Brooklyn and he raps over the Ballin' record. And, you know, I mean, I did a little bit of research, but I didn't quite understand, you know, where all that came from.
Man, you gotta know your history then.
Well, I've seen a few things, you know.
Let's just say this, that when Jay did the remix, it was the biggest alley-oop he could do for me. I understood a lot about music, and at that time, people were looking at the wrong way, and I was looking at the right way. When he did Brooklyn, so many people called my phone the same night, and said, let's go to the studio. Going to the studio, I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna make this shit work. And me learning about BDS spins and how they work because my song was so big, I remember them telling me like, so you have a record, anybody that remixes your record and it gets played on the radio counts as your spins, that's still your record, no matter who does it. And I remember that, this was before Jay even did it, I was like, yo, and I called somebody, like, yo, so these spins count on my spins, right? They was like, yeah, I said, package it up as the remix, this the remix. Ballin' remix with Jay on it. Couldn't lose. Couldn't lose.
Oh, shit.
You heard?
Okay.
Couldn't lose.
Yeah.
I was able to flip it on them and use it in my favor because now I got Jay on it. I know they're gonna play Jay's version everywhere in the country. It didn't matter. You heard? I capitalized off of that moment and shit like that. What happened up to thus far was just regular street shit that we was going through from the split of the Rockefeller shit and me taking sides with Cam and Dame and shit like that. So that was all that turmoil and shit like that. So, and I was the one that was most active outside. I definitely was the hottest one in the streets at the time. And Jay was still the biggest from New York at the time. He wasn't as hot as I was outside because I had the Ballin' record and all that type of shit. So naturally, he was able to figure out how to put himself in the game in New York and still look like Jay, big dog. Don't play with me. But then I was able to counter that. Well, good looking, big dog. We gonna remix this shit. You heard? I holla at you. Boop. And it just went in our favor. Like, they never seen a move done like that. You dig? Like, it's called chess, not checkers. You heard? We playing chess ball out here. That's the new sport. You heard?
I hear you. Well, I guess there was a fight that happened in the Louis store, and one of the guys was like allegedly with Jay or something.
We're not talking about that. I got sued over that incident. It's all love though. It's all love. Shouts to Louis. I like your clothes. You heard? Send me some free shit if you could. You did?
Okay. You and Jay were able to, you know, end everything, and you know, you signed to Roc Nation.
Yeah, we was able to reconcile our differences, and I wasn't signed to Roc Nation. I was over on Roc Nation management. I call it a treaty deal. It's like some mob shit. There's a lot going on, and Jay on the way out of his hell of a career was doing things the bosses do and shit like that. You know what I mean? I was able to have a sit down with him through mutual people. I've known these people for so long. I was at a point in my life where I was trying to figure a few things out to get back in the game. I know that I had been blackballed or sort and shit like that. So it was kind of dope. It made perfect sense. It was a good business move for who I was at the time. My mindset was different. I wasn't the same ignorant person that I was coming up. It's been a couple of years. I took a hiatus, was down in Miami. All type of shit that happened and shit like that. So that was like a blessing in disguise to me because I knew this would open up a lot of doors that had been closed because of I built, you know what I mean, that bridge between. So I was happy that I was able to reconcile our differences. Plus, our differences wasn't never about me anyway. It was about the cause. It was about what I believed in and who I was riding with. You did?
Was Dipset still together at this time, or like
At what time?
what was going on with the group at the time?
At what time?
When you
I mean,
when you signed with Jay?
man, I guess we was always remain cordial in different ways and shit like that. Remember after that, Cam came out on stage with Jay at the live performance that Jay had and shit like that. So, you know what I mean? Like it just wasn't me that did no smart moves for career sakes. It was other people too. You dig? That's a big move to be on stage with Jay and all of the history that people know y'all have and shit like that. You dig? So, but I get talked about for being the smarter one to do. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people do the same shit I do, but I'm the one that always get talked about for being so ill. That's what it got to be. Cause I don't see no other reason. Not if you doing it too, right?
I hear you. Yeah, because I think the first time well, at least for me, you know what I'm saying, being way over here, there was a video, I forget the name of it, but Cameron had like a lookalike that, you know what I'm saying, everybody said looked like Jay-Z in the video. I don't know,
Leave me out of that.
Like,
I ain't got nothing to do with that. You heard? I have nothing to do with that.
One of the things that, is like real big in hip hop history that I kind of feel doesn't really get talked about enough, man, and that's the tunnel.
I say that also too. That's like Studio 54. The tunnel was that for hip hop, 100% hands down. Once again, it was just one of them golden eras. Like you had to be there to really be there. You know what I mean? Like I can't explain it. One of the most exciting times in my life, coming up since a teenager. The first time I've been in the tunnel, I was 16. I may have been 94, 93, something like that. I remember my man Dieter, big hustler from the block, used to take us all to the tunnel and shit like that. And shit, that opened my eyes to a whole new world. Going to school the next morning and shit like that, just leaving from seeing Mike Tyson and all these type of people. And then I stuck at it. And then we became artists, start going down there. But some of the most incredible nights of my life I had in the tunnel. Word.
What's your like craziest story or thing that happened to you in the tunnel?
It's so many. I can remember Snoop and Dr. Dre performing upwards of an hour and a half. Man. Remember Snoop and Dr. Dre, they crip, and at this time, it's heavy blood. It's heavy blood. This might be 96. This thing started in 93. The tunnel was wall-to-wall bloods. So as they performing all that chronic shit that we all love, they see a bunch of bloods going crazy. And the bloods, as a term of endearment, they start throwing the flags on the stage. And Snoop get a little bit nervous, you dig? And not to say maybe he wasn't nervous, but from the looks of things, there wasn't nothing they could do about it with 1,000 bloods throwing rags on the stage and shit like that in the tunnel. Like it just was that crazy. And then he like, yo, we out here on love and respect. This thing, we showing you love. Yo, Blood's like, what we doing? We showing you love. Word up. And then they continue to perform from there. That shit was a dope ass night. I'd never forget that shit. Word. I had the Flintstone iceberg on, orange joint. You did? I think I took that from Cam too, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been his shit I took out the house.
Damn. Okay. So it looked like it was gonna get wild for him, but it was really just everybody showing love.
Just love. But the tunnel was dope, man. Just a hell of a everything about the tunnel, you know what I mean? And it showed who you were from the moment you walk in, your status. You dig? If you was waiting on the line, you know you was regular. If you got to park your car on the block of the tunnel, you know you was ill. You had the express line on the side and shit like that. I remember named Meach used to had a line on the side. Shout out to Jessica. Shout out to Chris Lighty, man, RP and things like that, man. Yeah, I've been going to tunnel since those days when they cracked that bitch open. Litigation, head of security. I used to have under so much pressure. I used to come down there and be like 80 bloods, literally. They'd be begging me to bring in 10 at a time. Please. Yeah, it was a great time. Young, dumb, ignorant, and having fun. Word. Definitely a great time.
Now, how easy was it to sneak, weapons
Nothing.
in
You
there?
couldn't
From
nothing.
what
You
I
had to be that. They were searching your socks. They was making you take your shoes off, everything. If you wasn't about nothing, you wasn't getting in with nothing. It wasn't touching me. I walk in there with a box of Dutch Masters, hammer under the Dutch Masters. You heard? 100 razors. You dig? Then he was going to the store to get 100 razors for they walking that shit. That shit was a battleground too. Nasty. You had to be. I remember going in there and God bless the homie Nut backed out 2 guns on us. Word. 2 of them. Boop boop. What's up? Ever since then, I knew that we was in a different game, and we had to be, word, show me some shit. I had the Tupac vest on Versace shit, and bald headed. Shout out to Brooklyn. He pulled this shit up like, man, y'all alright, bro? Y'all don't know who I am? Cause we trying to ask, hey, bro, a question and shit like that. Word up. Shout out to Deuce too. He home, saved my life that night in the tunnel. Word. He had two hammers on him too. I'm in there like, oh, shit is like the Western. Like, everybody got 2 guns on them? All right, bet. You heard, bet. We know what we gotta do next week because everybody got 2 guns on them. Like, what's going on? Word. So this type of shit going on in the tunnel. And keep in mind, you got models in there, you got rappers in there, you got bad bitches in there, you got gangbangers in there, you got every specimen of you is in there. Crazy. I'm talking about real models, GQ models, the 6 foot, like, or see Mike Tyson walk through that shit, separate the whole club. Silk shirt, nothing but ice on. Nobody looked at him twice. Nobody even touched his silk shirt. I'm looking at my man James like, yo, nobody touching this. That shit is just party. He's just walking through it. I'm like, oh, Mike. Word, you got me thinking about the tunnel. That's a good question. I like that question. Tunnel was a fun time for me. Word.
Damn, so Mike had everybody scared going through there.
Yeah, that was when Mike was in his, I was in the real Mike. This is 95. You heard? Mike, this was 95. Are you shitting me? Nigga, Mike had knocked the whole club head off at 95.
Yeah, damn. How did the club treat Mike when he was there?
I mean, I don't know about that. I'm a fan. I'm 16, 17. Just told you I'm in high school watching this shit, nigga. I'm going to school tomorrow like a fan. Like, I was in there with Mike. I said, this guy was a rap fanatic. You heard? From the projects, all we do is hustle. We get next to the rappers. I'm a real fan. This when rappers were real superheroes, like grown men. Like what? I'm 17. Rap music was my life. Everything. Source magazine, everything. That's all I knew about. We was in there like real fans and trying to be cool at the same time. And go to school the next day and talk about it.
Being out on tour, so many times, man, do you have like a favorite tour story you could share from being out?
I say one tour story that always stuck out is when we beat the Brooklyn on the way out tour on the Puffy. It started in Miami. The first day was in Miami. They had the rehearsal. Then they had the basketball in the back, and I believe I forgot who he was playing. I think it was C Gutter. The other dude, 2 dudes. I was getting into it just before anything happened, and one more Brooklyn. And I believe it was like me, Cam, and Mace, like that. And we ended up beating them that day. That was a dope. It was very aggressive, but basketball was the played ball back then, so that's a story that sticks out in my head. It's dope.
Okay, that's what's up, man. I've always wondered about there was a big rumor that like Mace had to leave Harlem. When he kind of retired from rap, he it was like he left, but there was these rumors that he had to leave, and what was going on at that time?
I believe he started studying religion. Took a sudden hiatus. Went down to Atlanta. Got closer to God. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know the in and outs of it per se. I mean, Harlem can be a rough place. I mean, when you around some of the illest hustlers and people like Baby J and Light, it's like a lot of people, you know what I mean, that really was in Harlem going crazy and really was a star. So, you know, it was hard to be a star in Harlem at that time. There was a lot of stars out there, a lot of competition. You know what I mean? And in the midst of you living so fast, sometimes you want to give your life to God because it's hard when you're sinning. You heard? God bless them, though. You know what I mean? Anybody give their life to God, you got to, tip their hat to him. We all know it's a higher power. I pray every night. And the days I forget, I try to pray twice on the next day. Like, for real. I'm a God-fearing man, so I can't really talk too bad about that situation.
You know, one person I always heard about was Bloodshed.
Dope. I know Bloodshed since I was 6. Very dope brother. He had all the G.I. Joe toys. Lived in D building. He had all the G.I. Joe toys. Word. I used to try to steal some of Blood G.I. Joe toys, but you don't know G.I. Joe's was like Xbox right now or PlayStation. Like, you had a fleet of G.I. Joe toys back in 82, 83, you was lit, especially if you had the trucks and your family had to be about something. You did, like, you got 40 G.I. Joe, man? Like, what? More, shout out to Blood. He's nice at basketball. Always had that on. You heard? Always had all the Jordans like that. Word. Bloodshed. $11.99. Word. I used to pay Blood. I used to pay Blood, like, not like pay him nothing, but that was like a little thing. Like, I got a quarter for you. I need a freestyle. Like, he was the jukebox. I used to give him quarters and he would bust a freestyle for me like the jukebox. That's how nice he was. Blood was nice at rapping. He had some word.
Was there anything in particular that made you feel like, okay, I could really do this rap, like I could really make it?
I did a record. I want to say the same year he signed to Rockefeller was the same year that the All-Star game was in Philly. And I told the story before too. Somebody had owed me a bunch of money. They ain't come through. Everybody else the whole set went to Philly. All the guys in the street, everybody went to Philly. I ain't had no money. I ain't had no money to spend. It's All-Star. You gotta have a bag on you. I ain't going out there with no. So I said, I'm gonna stay in the studio. I stayed in the Baseline, the Rockefeller studio, and I stayed there and I recorded a song. And the song was a song, and that was the first time I recorded like a real song. I was like, oh, I got it. I got it. And two things happened for me that day. That owed me money called me. I got my money back. I rode all the way to Philly just to find Cam and them to play him that record in the parking lot, I believe it was. Because I finally had a record. And I was like, oh, I know how to rap. Figured out how to rap. I got this. I'm in. Tag me in, I'm in. But so what people don't know is I've done a little bit of rapping, but for me to really start rapping, I had to really. So I've been on every one of Cam's albums since his first album, from Me, My Mom, and Jimmy. Like, what people don't like that's what people forget. I've been on his first album. I'm in his first album cover. You heard? As a child, you dig? Like, so I've been rapping on every one of his albums until I started doing my own music. And that night when I figured out how to do that record, I was like, oh, I got it. And then from there, Jim started rapping.
Okay, now, when you start rapping, you know, did everybody embrace you and try to help you? Or
Nah,
what was going on with everything?
Nah, whenever Diplomats first started, shouts to Six Figure Digger. I mean, that's who you need to, like, we could cut, that's who you need to get you a bag, interview Six Figure Digger. Six Figure Digger is one of the co-founders of Diplomats that have been X'd out of the Diplomats for whatever reason it was. And I never got a chance to have a personal conversation of why Six Figure Digger disappeared in the midst of him making all the beats for all Cam albums, and then was supposed to get a Diplomat deal. And then I believe something happened where Atlantic was supposed to offer us a few $1 million for the Diplomats, and at that time Digger was involved, and I guess the business wasn't, you know how that shit go. We end up taking a way small amount at Def Jam, but we didn't know the in and outs, and then Digger wasn't around anymore. But Digger's been there from the history. He created the Diplomat logo and shit like that. He created the Diplomat sound. He the producer. He got platinum hits on 50s album and shit like that. Like, dope dude. Always been a mild soul, kind-hearted, down in the South right now, living beautifully, all type of publishing checks coming in from all the hits he did. But yeah, he could tell you the whole story. Digger was part of the Children of the Corn. He was making the beats for them and Bloodshed and all that. Like, Digger is part of their dynamic, like in their early dynamic when they was doing music. That was like Bloodshed, Digger, and Cameron. And you dig? And that's how I learned about their music. They always used to be together, coming around the hood, and they started rapping and it started going crazy from a young age and shit like that. But they was doing that for a long time. But Digger used to be mad at me telling Cam, you know, Cam, he got to get his shit together like this, like, because I was just trying, and even when before Diplomats was formed, when we was under them, and I was to go to radio with Cam and rap on the radio, they be people just under them be like, nah, they can't have that rap no more. You know, the person that gave me the strength I needed to rap at the time I needed to hear that was Clark Kent. R.P. Clark Kent. I remember freestyling with Cam maybe in 97 or 98 on the radio, Hot 97 with Flex. I fumbled a little bit. I still was in the midst of getting my flow together. But Cam let me freestyle up there. I got through it. In my mind, I was hype and shit like that. It was a lot of, I got off and it's like you could hear it. This and it was a whole room and then Clark Kent like, man, all these, bro. You went up there and did that. You got some shit. I'll be listening. I'm a DJ. I know this shit. You got some shit. Don't let these discourage you. Keep going, bro. You got some shit. Keep working on your craft. And I used to tell Clark that every time I used to see him. Like, bro, you know you one of the reasons why I really started rapping because you the only one in that day told me he did not discourage me. Or shouts to Clark Kent.
How did you guys meet Un?
Who?
Un.
Unsigned, that's what Cam signed to. We met on the side of 25th. That's Cam's story, though. I mean, I was there when he met Un for the deal, but that's all Cam's story. I mean, I was there for the whole ride and shit like that, but, you know, I let some people tell their story.
Okay, because I mean, I believe that was Biggie's homie, and
yeah, that was Biggie's partner. Biggie had on DS Records, I believe it was. Biggie passed. I believe Sony or something gave Un like $62 million for a whole nother label, which is Entertainment. Remember Cam said he rapped for Biggs in the house, and Biggs said he was gonna give him a deal. So Big actually kept his word by telling Un that before he passed, because him and Un were starting a new label. Grace to God, I got to see Un on the side of the 25th doing the We Love Big Papa with the locks, and Cam was able to get his deal.
You guys were in the studio with Dr. Dre?
Yeah. Word.
That's crazy, man. When abouts did that happen?
I can't remember. I had a studio on 28th Street. Dr. J was trying to put a new album out, trying to find a sound. We came there to record. We recorded like 4 or 5 records. That was dope. Great experience. Never did nothing with the records. I don't even know what happened with the records, but that was dope. To be in the presence of such greatness at that time. He was super Dr. Dre to us at that time. You know what I mean? So it was dope.
I mean, do you remember, like, was this in the 90s or the early 2000s?
This is in 2000s. Maybe like 210, something like that.
Oh, okay. So this was maybe around like Detox time.
Around that.
Damn. Have you heard the records since? Like,
nah, I didn't hear none of the records we recorded. We recorded a few records.
Damn, that'd be dope, man. I would love to hear you guys collab on some. That'd be dope. I seen a headline and it said Kevin Gates wouldn't sign to Cash Money unless he met Jim Jones.
Yeah, but I don't want to go through that story again. Shouts to Kev, that's my brother, but I guess the way I've been telling the story is not the way that he sees the story, so leave it at that. But I definitely was able to meet Kevin before he signed his deal with Cash Money and shouts to Birdman, but shouts to Kevin. That's my brother, man. I love the out of Kev. One of the most talented artists that I've seen since the day I've met him. Like that, I knew he had a unique style that just was going to blow. It was inevitable. I mean, especially coming from where he was coming from, the pain, the flow. Like he had a style, and it worked. It worked tremendously for him.
Okay, one thing you're pretty much well known for is, like, your style. You know, it sticks out a lot, man. Where'd you get some of the ideas, and where did all that come from?
My original style comes from my mom's. She created a fashion monster since a baby, but the rest of it comes from the street, watching outside the hustlers. Hustlers are my biggest inspiration. They were the freshest people. I started with the breakdancers first. I'm not gonna say that. Coming up, early days in the Bronx, breakdancing was very heavy in the Bronx. Like I believe it'd be made more heavy in the Bronx than it was in Harlem. Harlem was always felt the hustlers and fly shit, but the whole style of the breakdancer was very unique. The way they was mixing that up, the BBD, like I was just telling you about earlier, like that. And that was very flashy to me. I used to love it. A lot of that couldn't fit me, so I couldn't get it. Well, my mom's would buy it in the ladies' size so I could wear it as a kid. But after that, the drug dealers wholeheartedly had my heart when it came to fashion. And then it was niggas like Rakim when it came to the rap. It was like, oh, he dogging that. He looking like a super drug dealer. Like, damn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he had that drug dealer B-boy flow on steroids when you see like Rakim. So that's where the fashion came from. And then just me, myself, being a lover of different and not wanting to fit in, always want to stand out, and my love for fashion.
Where did the pink come from?
I don't even talk about that, but just know I've been wearing pink since Easter '84. You heard? Word. My mama been putting me in pink. I've been going to church.
Okay. All right, I seen this story, man, that you and Jay were in the studio and you had like 20 Bloods with you.
All the time.
Were you and Jay recording the song? Like, what was going on at that time?
That's just baseline regular activity. You had the whole studio. We were diplomats, we were signing it. All the artists would go there every night. And then naturally, that's the way I was moving around. Remember one night he pulled me to the side, like, listen, young fella, you gotta tell these, make sure they salute the guard when they walk up in the building. You know how it is, you don't want nobody walking in your house, don't say what's up. I said, you got that, big dog? Make sure the homies always saluted them when they walked in. All right.
One thing everybody kind of talks about is Cameron erasing that Jay-Z verse.
Yeah, he did that, but that's again, that's his story, man. Yeah, I was around, I was there for it and all that, but that's his glory to tell and shit like that. It was a hell of a move and it worked and shit like that, you know what I mean? Especially Jay being so big of an artist at that time, but the way it happened, I don't see nothing wrong with the move that he did. That was kind of the genius that he had with him when it came to combating things that were coming at us and shit like that. I mean, so.
Moving around with all those Bloods at the time, do you feel like, Jay seemed to handle it pretty good, but do you feel like there's a lot of people that you might have scared off and might not wanted to work with you at the time?
I do believe there was a lot of people that were definitely leery and nervous were working with me, and I do believe that I closed a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities for the way that I was moving around. But at the same time, I was making so much money off of promoting the gang culture. Like, I mean, it was, so I wasn't really thinking about that. My mind was warped. I was a different place in my life. I was a whole different person. You know what I mean? As godly as I am, I was moving wicked. You heard?
It's a lot of people to have around, around a lot of rich people and everything. Okay.
But we was the rich people. I was a rich, rich
right,
blood,
right,
nigga.
Right. I meant like,
nah, I know what you
rich
mean.
people not from the streets.
I know what you mean. I'm just fucking with you.
Okay. We talked about Game a little bit, man. Do you guys still have a relationship today, or are you guys still cool?
Game texted me the other day. Stay focused. Keep going. Or shouts to the blood. You stay in tunes. It's my brother no matter what. I mean, when you got some good people in your corner and you consider yourself to be brothers, it don't matter what it is, how long you ain't see each other, whether you had disagreements, anything like that. That's the beauty about brotherhood for certain people that I respect out here. You know what I mean?
I hear you, man. Okay. Well, this kind of leads into my next question, man. Is there any chance that you and Cameron and everybody can get back together and, do some Dipset reunion type of thing?
I mean, I don't know about that. I've seen crazy things happen in life and shit like that. I don't count nothing out, but right now where I'm at in life, I'm worried about what I got going on and shit like that. I ain't taking away nothing from diplomats. You know, I love diplomats today. I wave the flag every day for the diplomats. And at this point, if the business opportunity presents itself and it makes sense, I guess for all parts, then I don't see why something like that can't happen. My personal doesn't involve with my business. I'm always able to separate the two and shit like that. You know what I mean? So who knows what the future may bring. But right now, my name is Jomo, and that's what I'm going on. You heard?
Well, Cam and Mace ended up working out, you know, because they had a long feud. You know, like, were you kind of surprised that they were able to work out their differences after going through what they went through?
Not at all. I mean, they were really friends. I believe they really figured it out. I hope they, you know what I mean? Like, hope they sincere at what they're doing, but they were really childhood buddies. Like, they really grew up from a very tender age and shit like that, through high school, basketball. Like, they really have a hell of a relationship, you know what I mean? So it's dope. They figured it out. They making money right now. Definitely can't hate on it. They got a great position in the podcast world and things like that. The hell. None of them hurt each other. I don't think nobody got killed. I mean, shit.
You know, before you started rapping, like, what was, you know, kind of like your position in Dipset?
Everything. Everything. Everything.
Okay.
Name it.
Producer, engineer,
Come
director,
on. Come on.
bodyguard.
Come on. Manager, road manager. Come on. Stylist. Come on.
Stylist.
Video director.
Okay.
Come on. CEO. Big brother. That was everything. I did whatever task I needed to be done for the diplomat's success and for Cam's success and for my own success. Like, that was my position. I ain't had no heart in this shit. I ain't have no fun. I was like a Mexican, no disrespect to anybody, but you know, they gonna get to it. They don't care what the job is. And that was my position with the diplomats. I knew what it would take, and I knew nobody else knew what it would take for us to win, and probably wouldn't do the things for us to win.
Do you feel like you get the credit you deserve?
Shit, I'd rather debit than credit. I like acknowledgement. Give me some debit, you heard? Don't give me anything, give me some debit, goddammit. You heard? Retroactive from whatever's owed.
Okay. You know, because I don't think people really know, you know, that side of things, or how much, you know, you were really involved. They kind of just see it from the outside.
I believe this generation doesn't know. You dig? But if you a real avid Dipset fan, around your age, I mean, like, there's a certain age criteria that people that know. They've been there, they've seen it from the beginning, from the Source magazines, to the BET basement, to the videos, to everything, to all the write-ups, to the pictures on the cover in front of my project building. Like, it's all there for people to see. The history is no, I mean, it's not a myth, it's there. You can Google it, you can look at it, it's all there. All the diplomat history. And even Cam's history from the beginning. I've been around for the whole thing.
What did you think when he tried to kind of like write you out of it when he did the interview, and he was like, you know, kind of trying to say that you weren't really around?
Like I told you in the beginning, man, after people laugh at the lies, the truth still hurt. Yeah. But who am I? I'm not here to clear up no rumors and shit like that. I only could tell you my story. Not my side of the story, my story. You dig? Everybody has their own story. And I only could tell you my side of the story.
Okay.
Collectively, we could tell you the diplomat story, but I can only tell you my side of the story. That's 1/4 of the whole story.
Looking back, is there anything you would have did different?
Nah, not at all. A couple things I wish would have worked, ha! But I ain't mad at all. I'm good. Everything happened for a reason. Time don't lie. I promise you that.
What's your biggest lesson you've had in the music business?
When you can't stay motivated, stay consistent. Because the game will discourage you. And if you can make it past discouragement, you're going to be good.
Yeah, sheesh. Is there any time you wanted to quit?
Lots of times. You heard? It's a tricky game. It plays tricks on you, especially when you had the success that I've had. And when you go up, when you start that shit, see that shit go down, it could be a mind. Especially if you're
That's
not
what it
mentally
is,
prepared
man.
for that. You're dealing with somebody coming from the depths of the projects to be able to read multi-platinum success, and when they knock you off your pedestal and things start to spiral out of control, it's a lot of trauma in that. You heard? Only the tough will survive. It ain't easy, but we did it. I was able to persevere and reinvent myself so many times over. Man, I'm here all over again.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely one thing I see about you, man. You've been consistent. You found different ways to just kind of stay in people's face. What I'm saying, like nobody's wondering what happened to Jim Jones.
Yeah. You gotta stay in it to win it, baby. We all get knocked down. The beauty in that is you get a chance to get back up. You heard? But you gotta stay down. And you know how you stay down? By not getting up.
That's what it is, man. I wanted to ask you about some of the current situations going on in hip hop.
What's up?
Little Durk right now, he's been picked up by the feds.
Pray for his soul. I know a lot of people that have been in these situations. The feds is not a game. And I just pray it all works out in his favor. He get back out here to his family. Hurts my heart to see so many black men in our community of rappers and things like that is going through so much turmoil with the government and the law right now and things like that. I mean, we always had a target on our back like that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I pray that the ones who are free are still moving around, tighten up. You know what I mean? Be a little bit smarter when we move because they watching.
Yeah, it seems like the feds were always around, but it kind of seems like it's a little worse now. Is it?
I mean,
is
I
it
don't
my
really got,
imagination
I really got no conversation for that. I mean, they do their job and we do our job. It's a shame that Dirk is going through what he's going through. There's a few other people that's going through what they're going through, but we're not definitely going to talk about nothing that has to do with any government or anything like that. I'm not here for that at all. Got nothing to do with them.
Okay. We talked about Drake a little bit, man. Drake is suing, not Kendrick.
Shouts to Drizzy, man.
But UMG and everybody.
Yeah, I know all about
it.
I've been through this a couple times, bro. I'm tired of saying it. I know so many people in my hood that have been getting lawsuit money. It's no different from what Drake is doing. He's playing at a very high level in this game that 99.9% of these people in this game would never be able to be even in the room that they playing on. And the move that he's doing is a chess move. Or above all, the biggest chess move in the game was like a Michael Jackson move when he brought the Beatles publishing. This is a game that it's like taboo. People are scared to do this because a lot of people could get themselves in very peculiar situations over these insinuations with dealing with such a monster. So for that man to go up against that, I tip my hat to him. He get that type of lawsuit bag. Let me hold some, because in the hood, we celebrate when we get that lawsuit money. That lawsuit came in. You know what these talking about? You know, other law, it's the same. You get a car accident, they wait to sue the insurance companies. No different. All these companies got insurance companies to sue.
But this is kind of like the first time we've seen somebody sue over a diss record.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's over a diss record. It's the first time he had the opportunity to be able to sting these. Y'all think about the diss record. The diss record opened up the portal for him to do what he probably been trying to figure out for a long time. Because we're not gonna get into that. I ain't got no problem with none of these people, but I am happy that he was able to do what he's doing, because if a group of us were smart enough to come together and do something like that, because of the magnitude of what's going on, we'd be celebrated like champions inside of this game, and some of us strong rappers were to do that. Because he just coming off the back of what he's coming off of, and he was able to figure something else out that way powerful than any diss record. That's the problem. Like, people don't understand what he's doing. They think about diss record. This flies circles around the diss record of what he's trying to accomplish by doing this. I don't care whether he's using this record to state his claim. I don't care how that goes. He's not suing Kendrick Lamar. He's not suing nobody's person. He's suing a company. This is the way same people sue companies for years. Lawsuit. I need that lawsuit bag. I'm from that hood. I'm about to get this lawsuit money. That's where I'm from. You heard? And not to mention, I can name a bunch of rappers that sue people personally. We don't never talk about them. It's called snitches. Do we? So he didn't even sue nobody personally, and they insinuating like he's doing something wrong in the game. Like, how? This has nothing to do with the law or anything. Criminal activity. This is a lawsuit. It's a lawsuit bag. Yeah, think about that. You take your feelings out of hip hop or whatever you got going on with the rap battle and put your feelings in business. You heard? You gotta think like your complexion, brother. That's all it is. It's business.
Damn. Okay. Well, Jim, man, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. Turned out to be a good interview, my brother.
What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon, so hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.